Welcome to Gorilla Sports Off Court, a post-game live reaction following the Lakers at the Nuggets. And this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. So just head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, and welcome to the show. Liv Moods here with a post-game live reaction following a game that was way too close for comfort. I know in basketball they say a win is a win, but in all fairness, this one did not feel like a win, although it was. Yes, it was a win. The Denver Nuggets won against the Los Angeles Lakers, 131-126. I should mention in this, though, for those of you that did not watch, if you're watching this later and you didn't get a chance to watch the game or you don't really keep up with the Lakers or the Nuggets, which is all fair, this was a Lakers team that was without Luka Doncic, not just Luka Doncic, but also LeBron James. Their two best players, the two best offensive players on their team, both out of this game, and the Nuggets kept this way too close for comfort, only winning by 5. The end basket was Russell Westbrook, who had a little bit of redemption there. He was missing quite a few shots in this game, also had some timely and unfortunate turnovers in this one, which we know is a problem that he has quite a bit. But I will say, while it was a good win, I would say in maybe the last minute of the game, because they found a way to fight back and overcome a game that became way too close for comfort, as well as got a little too carried away for this Nuggets team when it really didn't need to. I guess technically speaking, a win is a win. I don't really feel that way in this moment because I know what lies ahead for this Nuggets team. They've got 14 to 15 games left. And when they had 21 games left, 15 of those were against teams that were at or above 500. The rest of their schedule is not easy. They still have to face the Grizzlies. They're going to face the Rockets. There's quite a few games left. They're going to have to face the Timberwolves again, where this type of game is not going to work. This type of game, this type of win is not going to last them very long, either in the remainder of their season or in the playoffs. The Grizzlies did lose tonight. The Nuggets still in that number 2 spot. But we know, besides OKC sitting in the 1 seed very, very comfortably, the rest of this Western Conference is a bloodbath, and it's going to be competitive. It's going to go back and forth. There's going to be a lot of changes in the seeding, if you will, in the West, that it's going to look a lot different in a week than it is right now. And we've kind of seen that all season long. Some of that has to do with the inconsistency by the Denver Nuggets. I think the Denver Nuggets could be in a much more comfortable position like OKC in their number 2 seed right now. Had they been playing a little more consistently, had they not been playing with their food, had they not been waiting until games get down to the wire to figure things out. We talk about the same issues with this Nuggets team all season long, one of which is the poor defensive efforts. There is no reason. I'm sorry. I get it. The Lakers are true contenders. There's a lot of talent on this team, but there is no reason that you should be allowing a Luka-less and a LeBron-less Lakers team to score 126 points on a team that is, in a lot of people's opinions, still in contention to be contenders. There is no reason that that should be happening. If you guys missed the off-court show that we had on Thursday, which was yesterday, we talked about a very important stat, which is in the first half of basketball games this season, the Denver Nuggets have the worst, not one of the worst, the worst defense in the first half. And in the second half, they're a top 5 defense. They should not allow, because they are allowing, and that is a choice. If you can go from being the worst to one of the best, that's a choice that you make. There's something with this team where they find a way to flip on the switch when it really matters. But quite frankly, when you're a team like the Denver Nuggets that has had so much inconsistency in your starting 5, you're lacking continuity in your starting 5 because of the injuries you've been dealt. Bodies aren't fully healthy. Offense hasn't been wildly consistent. So your defense has to be. You cannot choose to play better defense in the second half than you do in the first half. This is where this Nuggets team is going to F around and find out when it comes to a 7-game series in the playoffs, because we know this team does not play well when they're tired. We know that being tired is something that is pretty common for this team. We just heard Coach Malone say it after the Timberwolves loss. This team looked tired after back-to-backs in OKC. Yeah, we get it. The schedule sucks. It is very abnormal that they are in OKC playing back-to-back games. The Nuggets have had a rough schedule altogether this year. There's been a lot of games, there's been a lot of weeks, there's been a lot of back-to-backs that haven't really made sense. At the end of the day, it is what it is. You cannot control the fact that this is your schedule. What you can control is what you've got in front of you. And I talked about this as well yesterday on the show, that control the controllables. There's going to be stuff that's out of your control come playoff time. We don't know who's going to be healthy. We don't know who's going to be available. We don't know what the teams you're going to look like face. The teams that you face will look like. Sorry, that was a mouthful. We don't know these things. So control what you can control. If you know that in the second half you can be a top 5 defense, show that in the first half. Don't let these games get carried away before it's too late. You shouldn't need Jamal Murray to save the game at the end in order to, get the game where it needs to be. This game should have never, ever been this way. Let's get to some of your guys' comments. MPJ did not have a great game, but I do think the Lakers were prioritizing him defensively for sure. In this one, he only had 13 points, 5 of 11 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. But we also know MPJ has been wildly inconsistent this year. That is not new information. This is something that he has been dealing with all season long, it seems. I'm not sure if it's a mental block. I'm not sure what's going on there. It was great to have Aaron Gordon back out there. I got to catch a couple of his threes. I was doing some things around the house throughout the game and, missed moments, but of course had the volume on full blast and was able to hear when things were important, would rewind. And Aaron Gordon back, healthy is a very important thing, but I do also worry, how long is that going to last? What does the longevity of Aaron Gordon's body, given the way that he plays so physically, defensively, what is that going to look like for him when we really need him the most towards the end of the season and in the playoffs? I am kind of leaning towards you rest him, you make sure his body is taken care of. But clearly they need him out there, even with Aaron Gordon, 17, 7, and 4. He was 50% from the 3-point line. He had 1 block, no turnovers for him. This still was a game that was way too close for comfort. You had Nikola Jokic, 28, 7, and 5. You had Jamal Murray, who really started to heat up at the end there. He showed some of that clutch gene that we know he possesses, 26, 4, and 5. CB, have to give a lot of credit to CB. He did exactly what he needed to do in this one, was almost perfect from the field, just barely. 9 of 10 from the field, 2 of 2 from the line, and 2 of 3 from the 3-point line. We also know the defensive upside that he has. He has a little less defensive awareness than a Russell Westbrook, but of course does not deal with as many costly turnovers as Russell Westbrook, and that does make a difference. He had 1 steal in this one, CB. Russ also had a steal, but he also had 4 turnovers, and we know how different this Nuggets team looks following turnovers. They really lose their swag. They lose their confidence. They are a completely different basketball team when they turn the ball over, and they do it quite a bit. Believe it or not, I was actually not massively disappointed in the turnover in this one, because I've seen way worse by this Denver Nuggets team, and I know that's sad to say. They had 12 in this one. The Lakers had 8. Anytime you lose the turnover battle, it does make the game tough. It really does. Second chance points. We allowed 20 for the Los Angeles Lakers. I got to tell you, rebounding is something that I still think this team can be a little bit better at. Given Michael Porter Jr.'s size, to me, if you're not going to shoot very well, which he didn't in this one, only 13 points, I expect with your size that you're getting rebounds. 4 is just not going to cut it, especially against the Los Angeles Lakers team. 20 second chance points. We actually saw that again just the other night against the Timberwolves. We allowed them way too many second chance opportunities. We also allowed them too many fast break points. Again, defense just continues to be the struggle for this Denver Nuggets team. And unless they are choosing to show up consistently and making an effort to have a better defense, it is not going to change. Most of defense in a basketball game is about effort. And if you don't have the effort attached to the defense, it's not going to happen. And we see this a lot with this Denver Nuggets team. The word for Jamal Murray I would use in this one, clutch. The word for Christian Braun, stud. And he has been all season long, truly. Nikola Jokic, defensively, got to see more from him. The effort is definitely lacking, and it has been for some time. But it does seem to be on full display a whole lot more, because it is at the expense of the team, right? I don't think Jokic has ever been this star-studded superhero on defense. We know defense has not been his strongest suit, if you will. I'm not saying he's horrible at defense, but I am saying it has not been his strongest suit ever, really, in his career. But what you do see in games like tonight is just a blatant disregard for making an attempt to play good defense. And that is definitely a struggle. We are in a little bit going to hear from Coach Malone, who got to speak, and I'm sure he's got plenty to say, and he is not super, super happy about that and how this game kind of unraveled. I was doing some texting back and forth with Brandon Christal, our very own from Guerrilla Sports, who's at the game, and we're going to touch base with in just a moment. We were texting back and forth, and, this is one of those games where the Denver Nuggets just make it way too close for comfort. They know how to make things interesting. Interesting is a really nice way to put it. I think that might have been one of the words, if not similar to the word that BK used, because we know he does a lot better job of staying relatively positive than I do. I can be a pretty negative Nancy. But we're going to touch base with BK. BK is actually at Ball Arena. He got to be at this game. He got to feel the energy out. He got to be in there talking with Coach Malone. So let's bring him on in and see what he's got to say. BK, this was an interesting one. You and I texting back and forth. You know me. I was feeling all types of negative about this one. And I think for good reason, BK. You and I talked about the fact that had they lost this game, this would have been their worst loss of the season. What was the game like from your vantage point?
It was obviously a little frustrating, really from the get-go. And Michael Malone, and you're going to play his comments. I just came from his press conference. Jamal Murray, Christian Brown are also going to talk. We'll see if Joker or anyone else talks in the locker room. But he was quick to point out we're 29th in the league in the first quarter, and we're easing into games. He told us the other night after the Minnesota game, they're worst in the league in the first half, 30 out of 30. So they're taking too long to even be invested defensively. Yeah. And it's funny, I gave the NBA a hard time. Did you see the tweet that the NBA put out? I'll show you because I have it pretty close to the front. The NBA, to promote this game, no Joker. No Luka and no LeBron, obviously. So, what's the selling point? The NBA, a little bit before tip-off, had the big matchup tonight, Austin Reeves and the fourth place Lakers against Nikola Jokic, 3-time MVP, and the third seeded Nuggets. And you're like, come on, just put Bronny on there and have fun with it.
Right.
Or just put the logos. Okay.
Right.
But when we see Austin Reeves do something that hasn't been done since Kobe with 22 points, 10 assists, 20 and 10 in the first half of a game, not since Kobe Bryant was rocking the gold for the Lakers. When we're seeing that, something is wrong with no Luka and no LeBron on the court. You got to give Austin Reeves credit, and Michael Malone was quick to do that. You got to give Denver's own Dalton Connect. Didn't play anywhere near as much 2 weeks ago when they were here, a couple weeks ago on that Saturday night. A lot of family and friends in the house, and the kid from Thornton showed out with 32 points. Big dunk, scary moment there. But I think the Nuggets tried to kind of just play along with the Lakers and pick their spots. And if it wasn't for the MVP being the MVP and then some good defense late, they would have had the worst loss of the year. We know the worst loss of the year is Washington, who comes in tomorrow. And so they've got some revenge on their minds. And I asked Michael Malone, you'll hear that coming up in a second. Hey, because of a game like this, does that set you up better for tomorrow? He's like, no, I don't care what happened today. That team already beat us. I understand that. Talking about Washington, it's like, I understand that their team's a little different, made some trades. They have Marcus Smart now. They have Chris Middleton, but they already beat us. So no matter what happened tonight, we know that we have to get them back for that. And so I understand that, but it's easy to say that. It's another thing to say, all right, we're playing a team that's undermanned, missing far and away their two of the best players in the history of the game. And it came down to the wire. Washington, even with those additions, is still a bad team, but he's not going to have to say much to remind these guys, look what happened last night. Right. And then but he also brings up the thing he's worried about most, 5 games in 7 nights. And at least next week, once they get past that game tomorrow, there's no back-to-back games in the following week.
Absolutely. And BK, you and I talked a little bit yesterday about kind of Coach Malone's thoughts following the Timberwolves game and the fact that there was some exhaustion that plays into what we're seeing with the Nuggets right now. And that is all fair, right? You're expecting more minutes from guys because of some of the injuries that you've seen. Some of the other starters have to play a little bit more or play a little bit tougher when you're missing a guy like Aaron Gordon or from time to time a guy like Russell Westbrook. At the end of the day, though, BK, every team is going to be tired come playoffs. Do you believe that this is a Denver Nuggets team that has the capability to dig deep when it matters most? Were you seeing flashes of that? Because I will say the last minute of this game, despite how ugly this game was, did feel a little bit more promising. Like, okay, there's a little bit of that dig deep mentality. Do you feel like they have what it takes in a 7-game series against teams that are going to wear them out to find a way to win?
I do, for a couple of reasons. One, they have been one of the best clutch teams in the league, no matter who the opponent is.
Yep.
And so when you have a 3-time MVP, when you have a guy who rises to the biggest moments, especially in the playoffs, in Jamal Murray, I didn't tweet much during the game other than to apologize to the NBA for making fun of that, their promotional tweet with Austin Reeves and Joker. But then I said, the most notorious serial killer in Los Angeles history. And that's when the Manson family and the BTK killer and all those, Hillside Strangler, Jamal Murray kills the Lakers. But when you have those two guys, and knowing that you're not going to ever have to play back-to-back the entire playoffs, and the one other thing, didn't have enough time to ask Michael Malone about it tonight, and we'll see how it plays out in the last now 15 games. He has gone way deeper on his bench in bigger moments because of injury. Will he rely on those guys down the stretch and in the postseason when he's going to need them here and there? And I think the answer is going to be yes. So unlike a year ago where he didn't want to go past 7 guys, he will throw Jalen Pickett into some tough minutes if he has to. Peyton Watson's going to get the knee brace off soon. You saw his aggressiveness. And so, Zeke Najee's obviously going to give you more than he's ever given you before. And that's, that goes without saying. And then you have Russell Westbrook and his experience. You can sprinkle in some DeAndre Jordan, and you're going to get Julian Strawther back. So I think that we know that these are going to be long series. We think it doesn't feel like any sweeps are in this team's future.
Not in the Western Conference. That's
no. We'll see who their first round matchup is, but I do think as long as they can stay healthy, and Michael Malone did talk about that too, and I know you're going to play it here about finding spots if they are going to rest. And he goes, look, we can realistically be the 2 seed, but we can also realistically be the 7 seed as it stands with 15 games left. So we can't take our foot off the gas, and they don't want to be in the play-in. And so would they be okay with the 6 seed? Maybe, because then you're playing the winner, the 2-3, and you're staying away from OKC as long as possible. But you don't want to be the 7 seed and be in the play-in. And you don't want to be 4 or 5 because you don't want to play OKC in the second round. You want to wait as long as possible to have to deal with those guys.
Absolutely. I want to refer to this comment here. There's been an overwhelming feeling, and we kind of discussed it a little bit before you hopped on, about I can see it from my television screen. I want to know from your point of view being at the game. Does Jokic's, I'm not talking about his defense from a numbers perspective, because you and I have actually broke that down. You have specifically broken that down many times and kind of debunked the theory out there that Nikola Jokic sucks defensively. But from just an effort perspective, from the eye test, can you understand the frustration by Nuggets fans that there is a lack of effort by Nikola Jokic on defense?
Well, I certainly can understand it, but you have to also understand that he's not Dikembe Mutombo. He's not a rim protector. He's not Rudy Gobert. He's not even JaVale McGee, a guy that obviously played here and ultimately found a way to win some championships. And he's not DeAndre Jordan in his heyday. He's not a shot blocker. Not that he can't get his hands on basketballs. He's top 3 in the league in steals, second in the league in steals, and had, how many he finished with tonight? He had at least 3. Yeah, he finished with 3 steals tonight. And the other thing too, so I actually reached out to somebody with the Nuggets and found this out the other day. We haven't talked about it yet. When AG's out especially, Nikola spends so much time. He knows where everyone's supposed to be on both sides of the ball. He knows every play that the other team's running. So it looks like he's out of position. You can think about tonight where he's helping up. He's expecting that somebody, I'm just assuming, is going to rotate at some point on the backside. They don't. Easy slip, easy layup. It looks like Joker's not even playing. But I'm not saying that he doesn't make mistakes. But assume that if there's any kind of defensive setup where Joker needs to be involved, or you think he's going to be in the paint and he's somewhere else, it's because he thinks something's coming, or he knows one of his teammates isn't going to be there and is hopeful that whatever's on the backside will be taken care of.
Right.
And so, especially with AG out, his numbers aren't great in the paint, and his numbers aren't great in the paint in general. But we don't live in an era. You saw the big men tonight for the Lakers. They're not backing him down. It's not Kareem over there. It's not even Pau Gasol. It's a bunch of guys you barely know who they are that are doing all they can to just get their hands on the basketball. I mean, Alex Len starts. He has 2 points. Jared Vanderbilt, he has 9. And the guys off the bench, they're not doing anything inside either. Dorian Finney-Smith has 5. It's a different game. But it's easy to see, he's out of position. And just assume that the reason he's out of position or isn't at the rim, it's not because he's lazy or not wanting to play defense. It's that he's helping somewhere else. I'm not going to pretend like he's some great on-the-ball defender that is constantly everywhere. But that's not who he is, and you need so much from him on the other side of the ball. So,
of course, they do ask a lot of him. So there's some grace there for sure.
His defensive numbers are better than you think, especially when you look at steals. But we go back to that ESPN metric that we brought up the other day where his defense seems way better than SGA's, even though they're right there. And I saw where somebody mistakenly said that they're tied in steals. No, Joker's second in steals and SGA is 14th in steals. So that's not tied.
Yeah, no, that's not tied. I will say, felt like Jamal kind of showed that clutch gene that he's got going on that we know that he possesses really at any given night, but especially against the Lakers. I do want to talk about another player that felt like there were some rough moments in there where it felt like maybe they had some mistakes that felt costly, but ultimately proved why they're a Hall of Famer, and that's Russell Westbrook. There were some moments in there that I was like, you kind of sit on pins and needles sometimes watching Russ play because he does have such a ball-dominant playing style, but also not at all. He knows how to facilitate. Him and Jokic, that connection has been wonderful to watch, but the turnovers can be costly, and there's quite a few shots. And one thing about Russ is, making them or not, he's taking shots. He's taking quite a few of them. We've seen that as of late, especially. But then he came up very clutch at the end there. And it seemed like despite how the first half was trending, he still brought some of that energy. What role did you think Russell Westbrook played in maybe like making the game so like too close for comfort, but also turning it around and helping them win as well? I feel like he played both sides tonight.
Yeah, and I'll use this analogy from time to time, but in some ways he can feel like the closer that blows the game, blows the save, but gets the win. He gives up the game-tying home run, but then they end up finding a way to win the game. But you look at his line, and he ends up with 17 points. He's 3 of 6. You'll take 50% from 3 from anyone, but especially from that guy who's a career 30% three-point shooter. He doesn't get to the line, and that's okay. 7 assists, you'll take that. So 17 and 7 assists plus 6 more boards, and 7 of 16 from the field. Like you see him miss a 3, he gets the ball back, and then he steps in and he misses an elbow jumper. And so in those sequences, you're like, why is he shooting? But when you look back and say, he ends up 7 of 16, I think you have to take the good and take the bad with Russell Westbrook. It's going to be fascinating to see if everyone's healthy and Peyton Watson's healthy, Julian Strawther's healthy, and they like what they've gotten from Jalen Pickett, what Russ's playoff minutes look like, because it is something we've talked about, that his energy and enthusiasm is great throughout the season, and certainly on nights when you need it. But everyone should be dialed in the playoffs. I know this team does a great job of waiting to get going, and so we'll see how he's used. But I think with Russ, you have to take the good with the bad and realize that he is going to get his hands on loose balls. He is going to get that leak out for the easy, I guess, was that a steal and a dunk at the end? Certainly. So you have to credit him for that. And 7 assists is tops on the team tonight when you look at that, ahead of even Joker, who's nowhere near a triple-double with 28, 7, and 5. So it can be maddening whenever he takes a shot and it doesn't go in, but you have to remember this is the NBA. And so I think you just have to accept that he's going to have turnover in a spot you never want a turnover, but he's going to hurt the team some, but he'll ultimately, I think, help you more.
Absolutely. I do think the good outweighs the bad with a guy like Russ. It does feel like the bad is maybe magnified, but also a lot of what he does on the good side of things is kind of a thankless job. He brings up that energy, and you can't always see it translate in a stat line, but it is there and it is making an impact. One more thing from you, BK. I want to get your thoughts on this one right here. A lot of comments made about SGA being the free throw merchant, and he gets to the line too much. From your perspective, because you, as much as you know about the Nuggets and cover the Nuggets, and you pretty much know anything there is to know about the Denver Nuggets, you aren't an overly biased fan like I may be from time to time. From your perspective, did it feel like some of those calls were in favor of Jokic, or were they deserved? Did he deserve to go to the line 17 times?
I think that the refs let him play a lot, and I want to say even missed a few calls both ways where or call it felt like an inconsistent game. And I know that they publish the grades. I think there's a ref grading system. There's a chance that this was a poorly refed game across the board. So I think some of them for Joker were makeup calls, but then there are other times where he's getting pushed in the back, no call at all. You see him getting mad there. I think that happened on the play where you end up with the run out in the Dalton Connect dunk where he hits his head, and you look back at the replay and he's getting pushed in the back, I think by Finney Smith, as he's just trying to post up. But then if he's going to get to the line 17 times, as Michael Malone also brought up, when's the last time he missed 5 free throws in a game? He made 12. You'll take 38 free throws, though, every night, and you look 38 compared to the Lakers 16, and I realize they're obviously hitting shots outside. When you make 15 threes, that's going to help. But I think that Joker still doesn't get the whistle you would expect a 3-time MVP to get all the time, but it feels like tonight he got it a little bit. And I think you'll take any night where he's going to get 17 free throws.
Absolutely. I'm not mad at it. And then, of course, want to give a shout out to your Kansas Jayhawk. CB, what are your overwhelming thoughts about his performance tonight? I mean, he really has just rose to the occasion, it feels like, this season. You know, he had a role to fill, but also Coach Malone made it very clear very early, we're not looking for a KCP replacement because CB is CB and he's not KCP and we don't need him to be KCP. Feels like he's almost been better in a lot of different ways. What was your thoughts on what we saw from CB tonight?
Yeah, and I don't know if they probably did show it on TV if you're watching the game on altitude and not on NBA TV, that he talked to Vic Lombardi post game here, and he's going to talk in the press conference probably here in a few minutes. He's like, he didn't even care about the plays he made on offense or any of that. He felt that he let the team down defensively because Austin Reeves scored 37 points and shot 4 of 10 from 3 and 13 of 26 from the field, and CB was the primary defender on him. And so it's not he's going to be hard on himself. He knows that in the playoffs, he's going to have to be even better. I think you're right, though. We should look at his numbers compared to KCP's because, like I mentioned when we did off court yesterday, he had a streak of 26 straight games with double digits, which is the most by any Nuggets guard, even more so than Jamal Murray, since Chauncey Billups played, the Hall of Famer, who's obviously been retired for a number of years now and is coaching the Blazers. But I think that CB is even more so than Russell Westbrook. He's good most nights, and you get a nice game from him. We talked about at the beginning of the year, if you can get 15 points from him every night, you're feeling good, and that's what you're getting. And then some. Tonight you're getting 22 plus the 6 and 5. You know you're going to get some steals. Huge steal at the top of the key, goes down and just jams it home. We know that when we talk about his highlight dunks, and he's had a couple in losses like against Minnesota, it doesn't mean the same as when it
doesn't hit the same at all.
And so you'll add that one to the highlight reel, I think tonight. And so even though the Kansas Jayhawks current basketball team is not playing like we thought they would, and saw Markieff Morris over there too, obviously still playing for the Lakers, but he is, I think it's been a welcome sight to see him take the step that you want young players to take. And there's a reason you draft guys and then develop and move on from certain guys, is because you want to see this. What's going to be really fascinating to see is what we get from Michael Porter Jr. down the stretch and in the playoffs. And I guess I'm curious, is he banged up? Is he in his own head on stuff? Or is it just not consistently his night? Because his lines are all over the place.
I actually said before you hopped on, it does feel like there's some like it's a mental something. You know, I kind of think about like a gymnast when they have a mental block and they just can't throw their back tuck anymore. They just kind of lose that skill overnight because they have that mental block. It does feel like there's something going on with MPJ that maybe we know nothing about, and maybe there's nothing, but it does feel that way watching him play. He's way less aggressive and he's just playing very timid. He looks out of his comfort zone, and he is a good enough basketball player that any given night he's playing basketball should still be in his comfort zone.
Yeah, and so I'll see if I can do some digging and see if anyone has an answer. And sometimes you don't. It isn't that it's physical, and it's hard to pinpoint what's going on mentally with the player. So it's just something to keep an eye on because there will be situations where I think if he's having games like he did tonight, you might see Russell Westbrook and Christian Brown closing out, or you'll see, as we've seen in the past, Peyton Watson closing out.
Yeah.
Even Zeke Najee closing out with Aaron Gordon. I'm saying in place of MPJ, any of those three guys, I think it's just something to keep an eye on for sure, because we know that Michael Malone has no problem on nights with MPJ specifically, that he feels like he doesn't have it late, making that move to get someone who's just having a better night on both sides of the ball.
Absolutely. Well, again, they say in basketball, BK, a win is a win. I'm not sure I feel
and that's
that
what Michael
way.
Malone said right off the top. He said a win is a win.
Listen, I'm not sure I feel that way fully as a fan, because I did feel like I was a little more stressed than I wanted to be. And this is a really great example, BK, of without LeBron, without Luka, it really shouldn't matter. The game should still be attacked the same. And I mean, had Luka and LeBron copy and paste what we saw from the Nuggets tonight with Luka and LeBron on the floor, and it would have been a way different game, and it would have been really ugly for the Denver Nuggets. So that's where we talk about them building these good habits and wanting to see them on a consistent basis, so that in moments like this, and again, who's to say they beat the Wizards tomorrow? You play, you F around, you find out. I talk about that a lot on the show, and it's really just the truth. You don't want to get caught, playing with your food, because it ultimately will bite you in the butt. So any final thoughts from you, BK, before
I was just checking to see. So presumably the Wizards are at their hotel here watching this game, or hanging out in Lodo, having a beer, getting ready for the St. Patty's Day parade in the morning. So I don't know if they're having green beer, but Wizards don't even play tonight. Nuggets obviously did play tonight. No, I think that kind of where you just started this last little part of our chat, they got the win. It would have been the worst loss of the year. It would have been worse than the Washington loss. I understand the Lakers are a good team, but when you're missing two Hall of Fame type players, and no reason to think Luka won't get there as well when you're 5-time All NBA right out of the gate, you're expecting to be able to win comfortably when you're a championship contender, and the Nuggets still certainly are that. And so I think that they need to figure out ways to find rest for these guys. They need to figure out how to start playing defense in the first half. They obviously know how to do it. They choose not to do it. It's not like the coaches are just saying, we're not calling good defense in the first half, but in the second half, we make all these adjustments.
Right. That's not how
it's about effort and communication, but mostly about effort. I think they're not being fooled. They're just not bringing enough effort consistently. And so I think that they're going to have to get that figured out. And, they've obviously got now 15 games left. Again, 12 of those 15 are against against playoff teams as it stands right now, including Monday in the Bay with the reworked Warriors. So they're going to be battle tested. You hope that they find places to get some rest. But
knowing that the Warriors are on Monday, would you rest Jokic tomorrow, BK? If you're the coach, if I put you in the coaching position, would you rest Nikola Jokic tomorrow?
Maybe, except the question is if it's his elbow and he can just fight through it,
right?
That's different than if it's a leg thing. And so I'm not saying you shouldn't, because maybe you should, but knowing Joker, he's going to play if he can play. He just likes to play.
I was going to say, even if the coaches suggested, at the end of the day, if Jokic is healthy, I would imagine he wants to be out there and helping. And again, we talk about the other issue with this team, which is they haven't really had a chance to build a ton of continuity. So the more you can play Jokic ahead of the playoffs, the better it is for, I think, everybody. But also keeping in mind that his body can only handle so much, and you do want to make sure that he's taken care of. So lots to, unpack here in this one. But at the end of the day, BK, like you said, like Coach Malone said, a win is a win. So trying to remind myself that so that I can get some peaceful sleep tonight. And of course, they have another game tomorrow. We know, I think off the top of our head, BK, what is it, like 13-1 on back-to-backs or something? 13-2.
I think they're up to 12-1. I think they're 12-1 now.
So they do really well when they're
12-1,
not
13-1.
rested.
Yeah, either way.
What's interesting about that, though, BK, is they do well when they don't have rest ahead of a game, but they don't do well when they're tired in games.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where there's a disconnect, but it does feel like in one moment they can tap into being tired, and in the next they can't. And that I'm still trying to figure that out, but only time will tell. And like you said, in a 7-game series, you don't play back-to-back. So if exhaustion is a concern across Nuggets Nation, it's hopefully a non-issue in a playoff position. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Well, BK, thank you so much for tuning in with me and hanging with me and giving me your thoughts as a Mavericks fan who, covers the Nugget. Yeah, I feel like
These
that's
days I'm just a basketball fan. I'm certainly
yeah,
not a Mavericks fan. I'm done with that team.
especially not anymore, right? They're
I
done for.
admire the Nuggets for the team they've built, but I'm not going to lose sleep when they lose. It is always more fun when they win.
Of course.
And my Kansas Jayhawks are disappointing me, so I'm mostly focused on Fulham soccer right now. And can they finish
What
in the
about
top 8?
you and I have also spent a lot of time this week talking about the Denver Broncos making some
Yeah.
awesome moves.
Lots of
And
Broncos here tonight.
I was going to say, we saw Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton, just to name a few. Those are probably the most notable names that people would be able to recognize on the TV screen. I jumped off the couch and was like, hey, I think I know those guys.
Yeah.
Am I crazy, or is that Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton? So it's good to see the fellas in Denver. Hopefully they're already getting excited for the year ahead. And maybe, just maybe, the Broncos saw what it looks like to climb back into a game and be clutch in the fourth quarter. Maybe it was inspiring for our Broncos, and we'll have lots of good things to talk about come the fall. Fingers crossed.
They did give Bo Nix a win in his first ever Nuggets game that he attended.
There we go.
So there's
Maybe
that.
he needs to go to the rest of them all season long. Someone needs to let him know. Really quick, BK, this question's for you. Who you follow in soccer, BK?
Yeah, Fulham is the team in Europe that I support. I watch Barcelona a lot because my dad's from Argentina and Lionel Messi, but it's not like I'm living and dying with Inter Miami. But no, I went to a Fulham match when the Broncos played a couple of years ago against the Jaguars. Was able to get tickets from, believe it or not, Fulham ownership and Shad Khan. And they had an American captain and Tim Ream, American and Anthony Robinson. They're a fun team. It's not like it's jumping on with Man City winning every year, or Man United, or even Arsenal, which Kroenke's own. So Sasha Lukic, fellow Serbian, like Joker. And if you watch that off Court of Gold on Netflix, which is great, they mentioned Sasha Lukic and his, Mitrovic. Their old, they mentioned him, but Sasha Lukic, both some Serbian ties to Fulham as well. Hopefully they win this weekend, and hopefully the Nuggets win tomorrow night.
Love it. Fingers are crossed, toes are crossed, hoping for the Nuggets to kind of use this win that was a win, but also I think you can learn a lot from this win. Not all wins
Character
were
building.
perfect. It was very character building. Hopefully we will see them get another one tomorrow against the Wizards at home, and then more to come. Lots of contenders they're going to face in the upcoming weeks, and BK and I together will be keeping you guys updated on all things Denver Nuggets talk. BK, thank you for joining me. I'll let you go, and you can finish up what you're doing over there, and then you and I will reconvene next week to keep breaking everything down.
All right. Sounds great, Liv. Thanks.
Have a good night, BK. All right, you guys. So I think everything's coming in a little bit slow on our ends from Ballerina. Shout out to BK, though. He got a new little internet cord, and his Wi-Fi was looking spectacular. So Ballerina, if you've never been there, the Wi-Fi can be pretty treacherous and pretty hard to navigate. So that being said, you can catch Coach Malone and some players. I think we've got Jamal, we've got CB, and of course, late tonight, we will get Nikola Jokic, and those will all be up and live on our YouTube. So make sure you are subscribed to Guerrilla Sports YouTube page. We've got our hockey shows, our football shows, and our basketball shows. We're keeping you covered on all things sports all the time. So subscribe to our YouTubes, as well as following us on all things socials. Mr. Exquisite, I'll get to your question really quick. Liv, are the T-Wolves the biggest threat to us still? Biggest threat is tough to say. I would say to anyone in the West, it's probably OKC, but I would rather not face the Timberwolves. That's probably my least favorite team to play. That being said, I wouldn't say that they are the biggest threat. I think anyone in the Western Conference is a threat based on the defense that this Nuggets team is playing. But if you made me choose the biggest threat, yes, I would say it's Minnesota. Okay, you guys, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with me on this Friday night. The Nuggets play again at home against the Wizards tomorrow on the tail end of a back-to-back. And then, of course, Monday night against the Golden State Warriors on the road. We'll have you covered on all things Denver Nuggets talk as well as NBA talk for the remainder of the season and beyond through the playoffs. So I'm Liv Moods. This is another Guerrilla Sports off-court post-game live reaction show, and it is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money, getting you a better interest rate, lowering your monthly payments. Shout out to our friends over at Trusted American. Thank you guys tons for tuning in. Much love to you, and we will see you very, very soon.